In today's video, we're going to be having a look at the brand new NECA Toys Aliens. This is the battle-damaged Xenomorph Warrior. Taking the tape measure to the battle-damaged Xenomorph Warrior, and I've got him standing completely straight up. You may not necessarily display him like this. The figure is about 8.5 inches tall. To show you how it also stacks up next to a regular alien human figure, at least, here's the previously looked at Ellen Ripley in bomber jacket, so you can see that there's quite a considerable height difference, as it should be. These ones should be a lot taller than the human counterparts. Just move that out of the way. Now, this particular figure, of course, if you are an avid collector of aliens, NECA alien figures, oh, me. Yeah, you'll know right away that this is pretty much a re-released figure, except for, of course, the battle-damaged components. And I'm actually surprised that it took them this long before they decided to release a battle-damaged Xenomorph, basically making use of the exact same mold, except for these little appliances here. Now, it really stands to reason that they could have easily released these figures in the past with like a peg hole in their chest, and then these could have just been pegged into their torso. Instead, what we get is kind of well, a later released figure that doesn't seem to have these as a removable option. It looks like they're actually glued right into place there. They look good. I mean, they're slightly on the dingier green color rather than, well, I guess Xenomorph blood isn't a very vibrant green. I mean, it does have a more swamp kind of dirtier green color. I guess this does fit the bill. You've got a couple of combinations of colors here, some greens. Actually, you've got a more lime green kind of in the darker areas, the more recessed areas of the blood, and then it's kind of tipped by this swamp kind of brown color that comes out on the little these little tendrils. And you can see here that these are rubbery, so they have a little bit of give. It's not something like a rigid, dense plastic, because obviously that would snap. So good decision on their part to make these very soft. But really, that's about the only thing that's incorporated to this figure. This for the most part is just a re-released figure, which, pardon me for making it sound like I'm downplaying it. By no means am I downplaying these figures, because the figures, at their core, these figures were really good. The icing on the cake simply is just adding these additional appliances to them. So let's go ahead and have a look at the face, which again may seem a little bit of a sense of, I don't know, deja vu. We've been there, we've done that before, but that's okay. I mean, these are still great looking figures. The mouths do open and close on the Xenomorph Warrior, and then of course you've got the little inner jaw inside. I still struggle at times to get these jaws completely out. Sometimes what I end up doing is taking a pair of tweezers, which I don't always have at the time that I'm shooting these reviews. I really should have like a pair of tweezers. I should have like a little toolkit on the side here that has, you know, tweezers, nail clippers, all that stuff that I may make use of during the course of a review. Anyways, the little smaller jaw does come out of the larger jaw, and then you can just kind of close that off. By the fact that the alien is suffering some serious angst here at the fact that it's been shot, I do like the fact that the mouth does open and close, because at the beginning of this review, you know, I like to even have like the head slightly angled, and maybe even like the torso kind of blown back as if it's from the impact of having, say, the pulse rifles hitting it and then like knocking the, you know, the alien warrior kind of off its stepping sort of thing. The coloring is that of kind of like a brown. In fact, actually, that's not true. I sound like a fibber face now. The figure itself looks like it's actually a starting point at black, and then what they've done is just kind of wet washed a brown color over top of it. So right, initially looking at it, it kind of reads a little bit more like a brownish gold figure, but it's actually more of a black figure that just simply has had the incorporated paint washed over top of it. The back doesn't seem to get as nearly as much that coloring as the front does, But again, like, it's got all the same makeup as the previous Alien Warrior figures, and then you've got the little back here that can remove if you want to have additional articulation. That just kind of pops out, and then the head can actually angle further back where it couldn't do that before. So all of that stuff from previous releases carries over here to this figure as well, right down to the wireframe tail, which is still a running tried and true go-to for Alien Warrior figures. It's the way it should be. I mean, these should have wireframe tails, and I'm so glad that they do. Luckily too, I can tell you that, you know, constant releasing of figures, you always run the risk of mold degradation, where essentially mold joints on figures become more looser with every future subsequent release. Luckily, the joints here on the knees, the areas in which that would get loose on an Alien Warrior, or really Alien figures as a whole, the knees are nice and tight. So luckily, no mold degradation has started happening with these Alien figures. So that's really good. Speaking of posability, the head is still on a ball joint. Nothing has really changed there. You've got your hinge up and down on the mouth, as I mentioned, and try not to bang the camera in the process. This little back section here, of course, can remove. The head can tilt further back if you want to have the character crouching more so than standing upright. I did notice, though, that this arm here, and luckily it has loosened up now, but I noticed I could not move it in the beginning of getting him out of packaging. I really had to kind of work away getting that arm to loosen up. But luckily now I can say he does have a universal joint in the arm, rotates all the way around. You've got that hinge up or back and forth. Doesn't have a rotation here. Instead, it favors a rotation at the forearm area. And then it does have a double hinged elbow. Hinge here, giving us a double hinge. You got the rotation in the arms, and the hands, I should say, and the hinge back and forth. These fingers cleverly are hinged as well. So not the thumb necessarily, but the two fingers here are on one hinge. I think you can see it right there. And that allows those two fingers to hinge back and forth. I like that. Nice touch. Ball joint in the torso. Of course, universal joints in the legs. They split outward, forward and back. Got your double hinge on the knee. And luckily, because the feet are allowed to be bent, as you see here, you can also get the creature in a more crouching pose, or it could be in a slightly lunging pose as well, because he has the benefit of having that toe articulation, which I love so much. So yeah, it is pretty much a still released. We've gotten these before, but man, oh man, do I really like the incorporation of the battle damage coming out from its torso here. In space, no one can hear you scream. However, if those screams were heard, I think it would basically be like Xenomorph Warrior Battle Damaged version is army building potential. If you ever had a reason to pick up a alien figure and get them in large numbers, I think the Battle Damaged is the way to go, especially if you're really going to be pairing them next to the Colonial Marines. Imagine a diorama as fantastic as this by having all those Colonial Marines firing off at several tens, hundreds, maybe thousands of these, all in a diorama. I really do love the splattering blood effect that's coming out from their torso. Yes, this is a figure that we've seen before, and a figure we see in future releases, but I do really like the fact that NECA would have now incorporated the blood explosions coming out from the torso. It doesn't look like it's a rushed sculpt. It does look like they put a little effort into it. Sure, of course, I could have probably said that they could have incorporated these blood explosions as something that could have been pegged into a figure initially, but still, at some point they did have to release a battle damage release of an Alien Warrior, and I think now seeing it in hand, I think it was really successful. Today, we were having a look at the brand new NECA Toys Aliens. This was the Xenomorph Warrior Battle Damaged version. If you guys haven't had a chance yet to subscribe to this channel, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below. Future videos, of course, will be coming your way. We're going to be looking at some more NECA stuff, so if you're into NECA, a lot more videos will be heading your way from that company. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.